Hello, dear UPSC aspirants. I am Akriti Kanchi, your mentor from Prep IAS, and I am trying to help you read the newspaper in the most UPSC relevant manner. Right before we start, I want you to use the syllabus of UPSC, especially in the hard paper in the hard paper format, so that you can underline the syllabus from which part, what article you are reading, and it is going to address which part of the syllabus, right? So I'll also tell you, and I want you to look at the syllabus and mark it, right? So let's start with the front page. We have a lot of articles that is important from prelims and mains point of view both, right? So first, the front page: 30 Maoists shot dead in 2 encounters in Chhattisgarh. This comes under GS paper 3, linkage between development and spread of extremism. So here government has achieved certain success in decreasing the number of Maoists. So Union Home Minister Amit Shah has called the encounters a major success, right? It is another big success in the direction of Naxal Mukt Bharat Abhiyan. You can use this Naxal Mukt Bharat Abhiyan in your mains answer, right? So the government is having a ruthless approach against Naxalites and is adopting a zero tolerance policy against those Naxalites who are not surrendering despite being given all the facilities. Okay, let's move to the next article. Twitter, now called X Corp, challenges content blocking orders by authorities, right? So this comes under GS paper 2, government policies and interventions, freedom to expression under Article 19, and censorship by the government, right? So Twitter is not liking the way the government is, putting blocks on the content, right? So they are challenging the way the union and state governments are issuing orders to block content on its platform, and it is also opposing the center's new Sahyog portal, calling it censorship portal, right? So they have an issue that why are they issuing blocking orders under Section 79, Clause 3, Clause B, when it of IT Act 2000, when it should be done under Section 69A, right? So Section 79, Clause 3B of IT Act 2000 outlines the condition under which intermediary loses its safe harbor protection. So that way, Twitter will lose its protection, right? So Section 69A empowers the government to block access to online content under specific circumstances. So Twitter wants government to use Section 69A and not Section 79, Clause 3, Clause B. Let's move to the next article. This article, here we just have a little bit information. It is 175 years of IMD formed. IMD was formed in 1875. So a lot of art and culture was done to celebrate its such a long time. So here Chanakya, who was an astute politician, he used statistics to predict the weather, right? So Chanakya was drawn. Kalidas for his epic poem Meghdoot. Okay, so that's also very important, where monsoon was mentioned at that point of time in 400, around 400 AD, right? So you should know who has written Meghdoot, Kalidas, and monsoon was mentioned there. And they have also, used the they have also tried to make Tansen, who summoned the rains with his voice, right? And which is the rainiest place in India is at Mawsyn Ram in Meghalaya. Okay, let's move to the next article. Yeah, on editorial VR. So this is the challenge of policing digital giants. So it is the age of digital economy, and data is extremely important. Artificial intelligence is the new age industry, right? So this will come under GS paper 3, effect of liberalization in economy, right? In which part of the industry? Data industry, AI industry, right? So recently what has happened? Competition Commission of India, which is a statutory body, also a regulatory body, issued a landmark order imposing a fine of 213 crore and forcing several behavioral remedies on Meta, which is Facebook's parent company, right? So this included 5-year ban on sharing user data collected on WhatsApp. So Meta again took this case to NCLAT, NCLAT, right? National Company Law Appellate Tribunal. So it's granted a stay on the 5-year ban from sharing user data, and the penalty subject to Meta depositing 50% of total penalty, right? So CCI's order found that, why was this action taken against Meta? Because they found that the privacy policy update introduced by Meta subsidiary WhatsApp in 2021 was the abuse of its dominant position in the market, right? Over the top messaging services for smartphones, and they were misusing the data by taking more privacy kind of data from the people, right? So but The same thing Google had also done in 2017, 20, in 2022. So the editor is saying in 21st century, economy has become digital and data is the new oil. New oil. So in 1917, 80s, the fights amongst the countries was fight about oil, but now it is the data. Okay, so data is even more important than oil. How? Because it is virtually limitless. Its use is in different area. It can be collected, analyzed, and reused indefinitely. In digital markets, data plays a foundational role in creating and sustaining dominance due to its unique characteristics and the competitive advantages it provides. Okay, data is both the source and the enabler of dominance in the markets, right? So Google had also done the same thing. It was fined around 1300 crore for abusing its dominant position across several markets, including licensable operating system for smart mobile devices, app stores, etc. So what is the issue here? The thing is, India's competition law, like Competition Commission Act and Competition Act 2002 and Competition Commission of India, currently lacks explicit provisions how to deal with such cases. Okay, when such big MNCs are misusing their power, how to act on such cases. So while traditional frameworks focus on price-based dominance, digital markets often witness dominance arising from data aggregation. So how should government act here? Okay, so there are certain recommendations the editor has said. So Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023 provides an opportunity to complement competition law by regulating data collection, consent, and usage. So they are saying there should be explicit coordination mechanism between Competition Commission of India and Data Protection Board of India, right? And they're also saying that the way EU has integrated competition law with Digital Market Act, we should also try to do the same. This economic survey statement is very important. The Economic Survey 24-25 recently tabled in Parliament said India's rapid digital transformation emphasizes the critical role of artificial intelligence in shaping the nature's economic landscape. So you can use it as in conclusion of the answers, underlining how important data is, for the future economy of the country, right? Let's move to the next article. So this article we have been telling time and again, the assault on multilateralism and international law. This comes under GS paper 2. Effect of politics and policies of developed country like USA affecting India's interests. So what has happened? The mantra of America first of Donald Trump is becoming very different. It is a significant turning point for multilateralism and international law. Why? Because the very institutions that they helped form, the US formed around in 1940s, 50s, 60s, it is exiting, now. So this includes call for withdrawal from key entities like WHO, UNHRC, Paris Climate Agreement, and sanctions against International Criminal Court and its officials, right? The most recent addition in this series is the introduction of the disengaging entirely from the United Nations debacle. So they are, trying to pass a bill about leaving United Nations. Okay, so United Nations debacle defund act, right, by Republican Senator Mike Lee from Utah, would allow the US to withdraw from United Nations itself, which US itself established in 1940s, right? So the new American approach has serious consequences for international order based on multilateral cooperation and respect for international law. Right, so this is also a chance for non-Western nations like India to take up leadership roles, as our External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar reiterated in the G20 foreign ministers meeting that we need for an inclusive and multilateral approach, and we should prioritize international law and peaceful resolutions. Okay, let's move to the next article. So this habitual, how do habitual offenders law discriminate? Okay, this comes under GS paper 2, laws that affect center and states. Okay, so what is the origin of habitual offender classification? What is habitual offender classification? According to National Commission for Denotified Nomadic and Semi-Nomadic Tribes, headed by Bhiku Ramji Aidet. So this can come in your prelims also. Who headed this commission? National Commission for Denotified Nomadic and Semi-Nomadic Tribe was headed by Bhiku Ramji Aidet. Okay, his report was submitted in 2017. And he talked about how this beginning of criminalizing communities began in India. So it started in 1793 during British rule, okay, which gave magistrates summary powers to put to work or imprison certain communities, right? Again, then IPC of 1860 and Criminal Procedure Code of 1861 further set up the mechanism to maintain a register of dacoits and thugs. Okay, then there was an act, Criminal Tribes Act of 1871. Okay, so this act, the IRED Commission is saying, brought the phrase called criminal tribes. Okay, so criminal tribe was first concocted and the system of registration began. In 1924, the law was applied to all of colonial India, which increased the number of communities which was called criminal. So this was not right for the communities who were being called criminal in totality, right? So as the Constitution of India was being adopted, the government's Criminal Tribes Act Inquiry Committee report was published and they recommended the repeal of this act. Okay, and hence the act was repealed, but its use was already there in all the states. So that became an issue and it was not completely eliminated as it should have been, right? So there are some points and gist that you can use. So recently, in October last year, while deciding a matter on caste discrimination within Indian jails, Supreme Court of India had called into question the very basis of the habitual offender classification, that it is not correct, right? Noting it was constitutionally suspect and used to target members of denotified tribes, which is not right. Habitual offender laws have a schedule of crimes for which the classification could be invoked, like being a thug or dacoits. So in March 2007, the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination also noted that the way habitual offender laws were being applied and called for its repeal, right? So it is something which should be repealed, and still some of the states are having, like Gujarat and Goa. And you can see in the conclusion that National Crime Records Bureau, NCRB, about 1.9% of India's 1.29 lakh convict population have been classified as habitual offenders, highest population being in Delhi. Okay, let's move to the next article. Will directly go to talk about Public Accounts Committee. Public Accounts Committee is one of the three most important financial committees. Okay, it was formed in 1921. Okay, so panel flags, the Public Accounts Committee panel flags showed the implementation of Centre's flagship tourism scheme. So here, members of Public Accounts Committee, headed by a Congress minister, they were criticizing the Union Tourism Ministry's flagship scheme, Swadesh Darshan. So we don't want to go into the criticism much, but you should know about Public Accounts Committee. So it has 22 members, 15 are from Lok Sabha, 7 are from Rajya Sabha. Ministers are not the members of Public Accounts Committee, because the job of Public Account Committee is to check the work of ministries, whether they are using money that was given to them in the right manner or not, right? So they also use the audit reports of CAG, right? So they have found certain issue with the schemes. This Kavaria route in Bihar, tribal circuit in Telangana, and Sri Narayan Guru Ashram in Kerala, they are still non-functional. Okay, and they have found found some issues. And you should also read about Swadesh Darshan scheme. What is the scheme? Let's move to the next article. I think we'll reach the last article of the day, last page of the day. The TB crisis and women, why gender issues matters more than ever. So this comes under GS paper 2, issues related to health sector and vulnerable sections like women. So it is saying gender differences and inequalities play a critical role in how people access and receive TB related services in the public and private sector. Women find themselves squeezed. So women are not even able to use the facilities because they're so busy working at home, right? So it takes time, prolonged care and money to treat TB, and many women have neither. So post treatment of TB, people generally face skin discoloration and weakness. That leads to mental toll. Okay, so negative comments about appearances leads to discrimination against women. Women in India deal with multiple hurdles, stigma, lack of health-seeking behavior and poverty. Normalization of symptoms, less prioritization, and the role of caregiver in the family put women in a compromised state. So women are supposed to take care of the family. They are never the one who family take care of it, right? So that is the issue being faced in TB. Across India, there are multiple cases of women being abandoned when diagnosed with TB. Women also are prone to stopping treatment midway when they feel fine. Okay, so these are certain women-related TB issues, and that's it for 21st March. Thank you.